God, if I have to look at his face one more morning, I might actually lose my mind. She didn't know I was in the hallway. She didn't know I was frozen 3 steps from the bedroom door, holding her favorite mug, the one with the cracked handle she insisted on keeping because it had character. I'd made her coffee exactly how she liked it. Almond milk, 1 sugar cube, just a pinch of cinnamon. That stupid detail still makes my chest ache. Her voice came through the bathroom door, casual and venomous, like she was talking about the weather. He's just always there, like a houseplant I forgot to throw away. Nice enough, I guess, but slowly rotting. I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. The silence that followed was worse. Not because she backtracked. Not because she said she was kidding. But because she didn't. No correction. No apology. Just the hum of the toothbrush and the soft sound of her spitting into the sink like nothing had happened. I set the mug down on the floor. Not a word. Not a sound. I didn't even know where I was walking. I just remember cold air and carpet under my feet, then hardwood, then the front door unlocking. My hand moved like it belonged to someone else. When I stepped outside, I realized I was still barefoot. But I didn't go back in. I walked. Past the mailbox. Past the dead hydrangeas she always forgot to water. Past the spot on the porch where we took our first photo in that house. I walked like I was afraid standing still would kill me. No phone. No wallet. Just the humiliating echo of her voice replaying over and over again in my skull. Like a houseplant I forgot to throw away. And for once, I didn't want to be her comfort. I didn't want to be her punching bag or her safe, predictable man. I just wanted to vanish. So I did. But the story doesn't end there. Because hours later, when she finally realized I was gone, really gone, what she did next wasn't tears or guilt. It was something so twisted, so manipulative, and so unexpected. I almost turned back. Almost. I didn't have a plan when I walked out. I didn't even have shoes. I just drifted through the neighborhood like some confused ghost haunting the sidewalks. Every step felt heavier, and I kept hearing her sentence echoing. If I have to look at his face one more morning. You'd think anger would have kicked in, right? But no, I just felt small. Like she'd shrunk me down to some sad little version of myself I didn't even recognize. I ended up near the old elementary school, sitting on a bench meant for kids half my size. My feet were freezing, my throat hurt, and I kept wondering whether she'd even notice I was gone before lunch. Part of me stupidly hoped she'd walk outside, see the mug on the hallway floor, and think, oh no, what have I done? But that was wishful thinking. Way too romantic for what my life had actually become. It took her 3 hours. 3. I only know that because when I finally checked my watch, it was almost noon, and that's when my phone started buzzing nonstop. First a call, then another, then a rapid-fire burst of messages, each one more frantic than the last. I didn't read them at first. I didn't want to. I wasn't ready to see if she was worried or annoyed. But the 6th call broke me down. I answered, mostly because my hands were shaking too much to keep tapping decline. She didn't start with, "Are you okay?" She didn't start with, "I'm sorry." She didn't even start with, "Where are you?" Instead, she snapped, "Albert, what are you doing? Why did you just leave the house like that? You scared me half to death." Scared her. Her voice was sharp, breathless, irritated, like I'd inconvenienced her by not existing on schedule. I didn't say a word. I just listened to her breathing ramp up, faster and faster, like she was trying to win the award for most dramatic wife of the year. Then came the kicker. "Can you please just come home? This isn't funny." I almost laughed. Not because anything was funny, but because it hit me that she really, truly believed I was the problem. She thought the issue wasn't her words, but my reaction to them. In her mind, my disappearing was more shocking than her saying she couldn't stand me. I stayed silent. I guess that scared her more than anything, because suddenly her tone flipped like someone hit a switch. "Albert, baby, just tell me where you are. Please." Baby. She hadn't called me that in months. And maybe I'm pathetic, maybe I'm spineless, but hearing it made something twist deep in my chest. Like some desperate, naive part of me still wanted to crawl home and pretend I hadn't heard her tearing me apart that morning. But before I could say anything, I heard something in the background of the call, a voice. A man's voice. Quiet, but not quiet enough. He said, "Is he coming back?" My heart dropped straight through the bench. I didn't recognize him. That made it worse. Callie must have realized what happened because her voice suddenly went from shaky to furious. "Albert, don't hang up. I can explain." But I did. My thumb moved before my brain even caught up. My whole body went numb. I stared at the sky, at the cold, pale clouds drifting overhead, trying to figure out if I had just imagined it. But no, there was no way to misinterpret what I heard. Someone else was in my house. A man she didn't mention. A man comfortable enough to talk while she was begging me to come home. And the worst part? I still wasn't ready to believe she was cheating. I know how stupid that sounds. I know how spineless it makes me look. But even then, even after everything, I wanted to believe she was better than that. I wanted to believe there was some explanation that didn't involve betrayal. But then the texts started pouring in. One of them, the one that finally made me get off that bench and walk even farther away from our house, read, "Albert, please. You weren't supposed to hear any of that. Just come back. We can talk when he leaves." When he leaves. Not who he is. Not why he's there. Not what he's doing in my home. Just when he leaves. Like she was juggling schedules. Like she had to clear the house before the husband returned. That was the first moment I let myself think it. The first moment the word fully formed in my brain. Cheating. And even thinking it felt like swallowing glass. But that was nothing compared to what happened when I eventually went back to the house later that night and discovered that what I heard wasn't even the worst part. It was after 11 p.m. when I finally stood outside our front door again. I didn't mean to come back, not really. I just kept walking until my feet led me there, like muscle memory dragging me into something I hadn't emotionally agreed to. The porch light was still on. Everything looked normal, like it always did. Too normal. The kind of normal that feels fake. Like someone staged the front of the house to convince the world nothing's wrong behind it. I didn't knock. It was still technically my home. My name was on the mortgage. My clothes were inside. But I hesitated anyway. My hand hovered over the handle for a solid minute before I finally pushed the door open. Silence. No footsteps. No voices. No sound from the kitchen. Just a faint ticking from the wall clock and the low hum of the fridge. The mug was still in the hallway, exactly where I'd left it that morning. Cold. Untouched. I stepped over it. The living room was empty, the lights still dimmed the way Callie always liked them at night. Moody, aesthetic, cozy, she called it. It suddenly felt staged, like a showroom version of a life I was no longer living in. I walked slowly, like a burglar in my own home. Every corner I turned, I expected to see them. Her and whoever he was. But the house was empty. Or at least, it seemed that way. Then I noticed it. The guest bathroom light was on, and the door was half closed. I crept closer, holding my breath without realizing it. When I pushed the door open, I didn't find a person. I found a jacket. Not mine. Definitely not hers. It was a black bomber, too large to be hers, too clean to be something I'd ever wear. It was draped over the edge of the sink, like someone left in a rush and forgot to grab it. Inside the pocket, a receipt. Gas station. 2 bottles of water, a pack of gum, and a bouquet of flowers. Time stamped. 9:16 p.m. 2 hours after I'd stopped answering her calls. 2 hours after she'd begged me to come home and talk. So yeah, she had someone over. While she was texting me. While she was crying into voicemails about how much she wanted to fix things. She wasn't alone. She wasn't pacing the living room, worried and miserable. She was entertaining. And if that was the whole truth, maybe I could have just walked out again, hurt but numb, like before. But that wasn't the whole truth. Not even close. Because on the kitchen counter was something worse than any text. Worse than any voicemail. Worse than the man's jacket upstairs. A piece of paper. Folded. Lying on top of my stack of unopened mail. In her handwriting. My name on the front. And inside, the beginning of something she never meant for me to see. Not yet. A letter. Not an apology. Not a confession. But a plan. And reading the first 2 lines of it nearly broke me in half. I unfolded the letter slowly, careful not to tear the edges. Her handwriting was always neat, the kind you'd see on wedding place cards or thank you notes. I stared at my name at the top of the page like it had been written by a stranger. For a second, I almost put it down. I didn't want to know. I wasn't ready. But something about the weight of it, the way she left it out in the open, told me this wasn't a goodbye letter. This was something else. The first line punched a hole in my gut. I don't want to hurt him. I just want out. She wasn't talking to me. She was writing about me. I sat at the kitchen counter, reading line after line, feeling the blood drain from my face. She described me like I was a patient she'd been assigned. like staying married to me was part of some long charity project that she didn't have the courage to walk away from yet. She wrote things like, "He clings too hard to the idea of us, like it's the only thing holding him together. And I wish I could just disappear without a fight." But the most shocking part wasn't what she said about me. It was what came next. "If Julian gets the job in Portland, we'll finally have a clean break." Julian, the same name she laughed about weeks ago, that I'd stupidly chalked up to meaningless nostalgia. Turns out, he wasn't just a memory. He was an option, a backup plan. No, worse, he was the real plan, and I was the burden in the way of it. She wasn't just tired of me. She was waiting for the right moment to replace me. I sat there with the letter in my hands, my vision swimming, trying to convince myself this couldn't be what it looked like. That this was just a venting note, some emotional purge she never meant to send or share. But she left it out. She didn't hide it. She left it right there in plain sight, like she wanted me to find it. And that's what made it feel so cruel. And then, just as I was about to stand up and leave again, I heard something behind me. The front door creaked open. Not fast, not startled, just slow, quiet, like someone easing it shut to avoid making noise. I turned my head, and there she was, Callie, standing in the doorway, holding her phone, mascara smudged under her eyes. Her jacket was half off her shoulder, like she'd rushed out earlier and hadn't had time to fix it. But her expression wasn't relief. It wasn't guilt. It was confusion, like I was the one invading her space. She blinked once. Then her voice dropped, soft but sharp. "Why are you going through my stuff?" I stood there, stunned, holding the letter with her name at the bottom, and she acted like I was the villain for reading something she wrote about me. She didn't deny it. She didn't apologize. She just walked straight past me and poured herself a glass of wine like she was winding down after a long day. I wanted to yell. I wanted to explode. But instead, I asked the one thing I didn't want the answer to. "Is he still in Portland?" She froze. Just for a second. Just enough. Then, in the coldest voice I'd ever heard from her, she said, "It's not what you think." But it was. And the worst part was, she didn't even try to lie convincingly anymore. She didn't look at me when she said it. "It's not what you think," she repeated, calm and cold, like a line rehearsed in a mirror. Her hand swirled the wine in the glass, like she was already done with this conversation before it even began. I didn't answer. I couldn't. There was nothing left to ask. The letter said it all. Julian, Portland, the plan to ease me out, like I was some outdated furniture she was too polite to throw away. But then the knock came. 3 quick raps on the front door. Not loud, not urgent, just strange. Callie flinched. That was the first time she showed emotion. I looked at her, and for a moment, just a flicker, there was panic in her eyes. She set the glass down too fast. The wine sloshed over the rim. "Who's that?" I asked. She didn't answer. I stepped toward the door before she could stop me, and when I opened it, there was a kid. Maybe 19, maybe 20. Shaggy hair, nervous expression, a hoodie 2 sizes too big. He looked like he was about to back out of whatever he'd come to say. Is Callie here?" I didn't answer, just stared, because I didn't recognize him. He wasn't family, not a neighbor. He didn't even glance at me. His eyes were locked on Callie behind me, and his face? It said everything. "Oh," he muttered, realizing I wasn't supposed to be there. I didn't think. Sorry. I thought you said your husband was." "Go," she snapped, cutting him off. "Leave. Now." But it was too late. Something in my chest cracked. That wasn't just some delivery kid. That wasn't someone selling magazines. This was someone who knew her. I stepped out onto the porch, blocking the door. "Say it," I told him, voice shaking. "Say whatever you came here to say." He shifted, clearly uncomfortable, but then he looked me right in the eyes. "I'm sorry, man. I thought you were split up. She said you were crashing at your brother's, and that she was staying alone here. She didn't say you were still together." Still together. That phrase hit harder than anything. Because, up until 2 days ago, I thought we were. I thought we were just struggling. I thought we were in a rough patch. I thought she needed space, not someone else's arms. Behind me, I heard her voice. Sharp. Panicked. "You need to leave, Caleb. Now." He took a step back, hands raised, muttering apologies, but I didn't even watch him leave. I turned to her, and for the first time since this nightmare started, she actually looked guilty. Not sorry. Not heartbroken. Just caught. "How many, Callie?" I asked. My voice sounded small. Smaller than I wanted. How many like him? How many did you say I was out of town for? She didn't answer. That silence was everything. And in that moment, I realized I had wasted years loving a version of her that never really existed. I wasn't her husband anymore. I was just the placeholder until someone better came along. But I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. No, I was going to let her watch me walk out, without begging, without fighting, because for someone like Callie, silence would always be louder than shouting. And I had one more surprise planned before I left that would shake her world more than anything she thought she could get away with. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of rage. Not even sadness anymore. Something had shifted inside me, like a dial finally clicked into place. I lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, while Callie paced upstairs. I could hear her moving around, opening drawers, muttering to herself, probably trying to figure out how to spin it. She never came down. No apology. No explanation. Just silence. She knew I wasn't the same person who'd left barefoot with a coffee mug 12 hours earlier. By morning, I was dressed, packed, and standing at the kitchen table with one final envelope. I left it right where she'd left the letter about Julian. No drama. No big monologue. Just a clean, simple truth printed on white paper. She came downstairs as I zipped up my duffel. She was in one of my old hoodies like nothing had happened. Her hair was messy. She looked tired. For once, she looked human, not composed, not calculating. "You're leaving," she said flatly, like it was a statement about the weather. I nodded. That's it. I almost laughed. She wanted a fight. She wanted a reaction. Anything to make herself feel less like the villain. But I just pointed at the envelope. "What is it?" she asked, not moving. "Everything you pretended not to want," I said. "Signed separation papers. I already had them notarized last year, just in case." That shook her. She blinked hard, like she'd just realized I'd had a lifeboat ready all along, even while she was drilling holes in the ship. "I thought," she started. "I know what you thought." I cut in calm. "You thought I'd beg. You thought I'd break. You thought I needed you so badly I'd swallow anything to keep this going. But I heard you, Callie. Not just the words. The way you said them. The tone. The laugh after." She looked down, then up at me, defiant again. "So you're just walking away? Like none of it mattered?" "No," I said, finally picking up my bag. "I'm walking away because it mattered." Then I added something I hadn't planned to say, but it just came out, low and steady. "I loved you more than anyone else ever will. And you hated me for it." That shut her up. Fully. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. For the first time in years, she had no script. Just silence. But I wasn't done yet. Right before I opened the front door, I turned and said, "You should check your messages." And then I left. What she didn't know yet, what would hit her like a brick minutes later, was that I'd forwarded her little exit strategy letter to Julian. With a note. Just 2 words. "She's all yours." I walked until my legs started to ache. I didn't have a real destination, just anywhere that wasn't her house. I turned off my phone for a few hours. Not because I didn't care what she'd say, but because I already knew what kind of storm was coming. And I wasn't interested in watching her scramble to fix the mess she made. For once, I wasn't her emotional punching bag or her backup plan. I was done. When I finally turned the phone back on, the screen nearly froze from the volume of messages. 22 missed calls. Dozens of texts. All from her. I didn't open any of them. I skipped straight to the one name that mattered, Julian. And there it was. A single message. No reply. No voice note. Just a screenshot. From her. Her message to him. Timestamped only minutes after I walked out. "He knows. I need to talk to you. Please call me." His response, which he apparently thought I deserved to see. "You said he was checked out. You didn't say you were still living with him like nothing happened. If you'll do this to him, you'll do it to me. Good luck, Callie." It was like a thunderclap in slow motion. And I just stood there, on some random park bench near a gas station, reading that line over and over. Julian wasn't her escape plan. He wasn't her safety net. He was just another fantasy that collapsed the second it had to face reality. And now she had no one. She blew it all up, for nothing. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to scream or post screenshots online or tell everyone in our circle what really happened. Because Julian? He was already doing it for me. Word spreads fast when drama's involved, especially in her world, where reputation is everything. She built her identity around being wanted, admired, coveted. And now the very people she thought she could impress were watching her fall apart. By the next day, I got a message from Marley, her best friend. The same one I heard laughing on the patio during that first betrayal. It read, "I didn't know she was lying to both of you. I'm sorry, Elle. You didn't deserve that. Nobody did." And that's when it really hit me. I'd spent years trying to hold together a version of love that only I believed in. I thought if I tried hard enough, gave more, bent further, she'd eventually meet me in the middle. But there was no middle. There was just her, taking, and me, apologizing for existing. But not anymore. I didn't respond to Marley. I didn't respond to Callie. Instead, I started making a list. A new one. Not of groceries or household chores, but of places I wanted to see. Things I wanted to try. Parts of myself I'd buried just to keep her happy. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something close to peace. But the story isn't over. Because 2 weeks later, when everything had finally started to settle, she showed up. No warning. No shame. And she brought something with her that nearly broke me again. It was a Sunday morning. Quiet, clear skies, the kind that usually put me at ease. I just finished unpacking a box of books in my new apartment. A small, peaceful place downtown with creaky floors and no bad memories. I was sipping coffee, barefoot on the balcony, trying to forget that the last few weeks had felt like living in the aftermath of a wreck. That's when I heard the knock. I don't know why I knew it was her before I even opened the door. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was hope trying to creep back in one last time just to test me. I opened the door. There she was. Callie. Her face was pale, hair tied up like she hadn't bothered with anything that morning. No makeup, no ring, just her, raw, exhausted, and, for once, completely disarmed. She held something in her hands. A small photo album. Our photo album. The one we made in our first year of marriage, filled with blurry Polaroids, receipts from diners, scribbled notes we used to leave each other before work. I hadn't seen it in years. I thought she'd thrown it out, or forgotten it even existed. "I found this," she said quietly, not meeting my eyes. "I thought maybe you'd want it." I didn't answer. I didn't reach for it either. She stood there awkwardly for a few seconds, then sighed. "I ruined everything, didn't I?" I said nothing. What was there to say? I was stupid. I thought you'd always be there, no matter how I treated you. I didn't realize I'd finally hit the one moment you wouldn't come back from. Still, I said nothing. She looked up, and this time, her voice cracked. "Can I just talk to you? Just sit down somewhere and talk." I took a breath. I could have said yes, out of politeness, or nostalgia, or pity, but I knew better now. I wasn't the man standing in the hallway with a mug anymore. I wasn't the man begging for scraps of attention. I wasn't the ghost haunting a marriage that died long before I walked away. "No," I said softly. "You had a long time to talk. Now it's time for me to live." She froze. I could see the weight of that moment land on her shoulders. The realization that there wouldn't be another second chance. That whatever power she thought she had over me was gone. And that's when I finally took the album from her hands. Not to cherish, not to keep, but to close. I turned it over once in my hands, then calmly said, "Goodbye, Callie." She stood there as I shut the door. No yelling, no slamming, just quiet, like peace finally claiming its place. Since that day, I haven't looked back. I started hiking again, took a solo trip to Colorado. I joined a writer's group, something I always wanted but never had time for. I even adopted a rescue dog, an old, goofy mutt with crooked ears who follows me around like I'm his entire world. And maybe, for once, I get to be someone's world without being taken for granted. Callie texted a few more times. I never answered. Some people say closure is a conversation, but for me, closure was silence. And the life I found beyond her, that's the real love story.